We are live. So we're still waiting for Ron Polson and Dan Washington. And I'm admitting Dan right now. And Councillor Polson is being admitted now, and the time is 1:59.
Last but not least, Councillor Polson.
Always.
I know we should get, whoever's last has to take us out for dinner.
I like that. New council rule.
I had to see the last of Airplane Repo. Like they were on the run, repoing an airplane.
What?
Reality TV, eh?
Oh, goodness. Okay, 2 o'clock. So we will call our regular meeting of council to order and recognize first that we are holding our meeting on the unceded territories of the Sechot and Hupachesit First Nations. Council, we have an agenda in front of us. Are there any late items to add from councillors? Okay, seeing none. Are there any late items from the city clerk?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, would somebody like to move approval of our agenda? Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Corbeil. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And we have minutes from the special meeting of council held at 9:30 a.m. on September 21st, 2020, minutes from the special meeting of council held at 9:30 a.m. and regular council meeting held at 2 p.m. on September 28th, 2020. Would somebody like to move adoption? Moved by Councillor Paulson, seconded by Councillor Washington. Any comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And that takes us to public input period, which is an opportunity for the public to address council on topics of relevance to City Council. And we take a maximum of 4 speakers or submissions. City Clerk, do we have any speakers or submissions today?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we should have Terry Hodson as part of the Zoom meeting today. Terry, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful, Terry.
Okay.
You can go ahead if you want to just start by stating your name and address, and we have 3 minutes for your public input. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, my name is Terry Hodson, and I'm at 2839 9th Ave in Port Alberni, V9Y2M3. And I'm joining today to see if we can get some light on residents being able to build cottage or lane suites out of their garages in Port Alberni. I understand that it's up for talk of doing this. I'm just hoping bringing it forward will get maybe some movement on it quicker.
Wonderful. Well, appreciate you bringing that forward. It is something that council and staff have been looking at for some time. So we will, I will certainly follow up with staff to see where we're at in terms of a timeline on that. And it sounds like you're connecting with staff already, so I'm sure you'll hear back on that. Anything further you'd like to add? Would
I be hearing in a phone call, email? How would
I'm
I
not
be hearing
sure.
back? Oh, okay.
Whoever has your contact information.
Okay. All right. I've never done one of these calls, so thank you.
No, absolutely. Thanks very much for coming on. We're all kind of getting used to taking input in this way, so appreciate it.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Am I able to hang up now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, any other public input?
No, Madam Mayor.
Wonderful. And I think we'll just maybe ask for an update on that, but we'll do that under new business as it is something that, well, I guess we've talked about it before, but we'll ask for the update under new business. Okay, so we have no delegations and no unfinished business. So on to staff reports. Item 1 is accounts. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the certification of the Director of Finance dated October 13, 2020 be received, and checks numbering 194878 to 146961 inclusive, and payments of account totaling $968,547.12 be approved.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Corbeil. All in favor? Carried. And on to item number 2 from the Director of Corporate Services, we have the appointment of our Deputy City Clerk.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. So in your package, you have a report which speaks to the appointment of Sarah Darling. The community charter requires that one of the municipal officer positions be assigned the responsibility of corporate administration. In this case, that's myself at this time, to ensure continuity of city business, maintain customer service, and to assure that the business of the city moves forward. The appointment of the Deputy City Clerk is being proposed in order to carry out the various statutory duties in case I happen to be absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Solda, would you like to read the motion that's written?
Madam Mayor, I move that the Council for the City of Port Alberni appoint Sarah Darling as the city's Deputy City Clerk and assign the responsibilities of corporate administration as prescribed in the community charter to the Deputy City Clerk in the absence of the Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Corbeil. Any comments? Well, I just want to say congratulations to Sarah Darling. It's always nice to have somebody who has been a long-term, and fantastic employee of the city move into a new position. So congratulations to Sarah, and we're looking forward to working with her. So on the motion, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And item 3 from our Economic Development Manager, we have the Community Economic Recovery Infrastructure Program, an application for funding. Welcome, Pat. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hello, councillors. I'd just like to emphasize, I think, 3 things out of the report. First is that although this is supposedly 100% funded program up to $1 million per initiative, there's $90 million available in total, and there are approximately 355 eligible applicants in the province for the funding between cities, towns, district municipalities, villages, First Nations, resort municipalities, that kind of thing. And so we've been told by one of the administrators who actually expressed shock that we were contemplating making $1 million ask for anything. And the other, the Flynn Row RD, which is administering 2 of the streams, have told us that they expect an average application to be between $300,000 and $500,000. So that's the first thing. The second thing, emphasis on job creation. When you look at the template, the final report template that's provided in the application, you will see all of the questions are around how much employment was created, full-time, part-time, seasonal, that kind of thing. And then the third and last thing I'd like to say about the stream is that the report provides a lot of examples for each stream of funding, and they're provided there. And we've provided a few ideas respect to what the city's application might consist of, but they're just ideas.
Okay, thank you so much, Pat. Questions or comments from council? Well, I will start if nobody else will. I think this is a great opportunity for us to, to look at the projects that we've been talking about for a few years. And the one that really stands out to me, just given the timing, given the expression of interest that we are working on putting out, is the train station. I would be really excited for us to apply for a retrofit to the train station through this fund. I think that the creation of the mural that the Rotary Club did, working with Sachat, really just is the start of a hub in that area, in my opinion. And it's a beautiful addition. And I think that this would really fit with the provincial government's interest around job creation. We know that we've had interest from Twin City at one point expressed an interest publicly, but other businesses as well, and possibly starting new businesses there. So I think it would be a really good fit with the provincial government's priorities. And I think it would just be a really exciting project for the community that we might not otherwise get the opportunity to, get funds for. So I'm interested to see what council thinks, and to see if there were other thoughts on different projects we could look at. So I'll start with Councillor Solda and then Councillor Corbeil.
Madam Mayor, when I read the report, I would agree with you on the train station. There's so much that has to be done and on that building, and it would cost the taxpayers a lot of money. So I think this would be a great project for this grant. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councillor Corbeil.
Well, I also agree with you, Madam Mayor, that that's the one that jumped out at me as well, as we will have to spend money on that sooner or later. And depending on the different streams, the second one I thought about was the extension of the Scott Kenny Trail to the Victoria Quay, which again is something we're never, doesn't seem like we have money to do things like that. So if there's different streams available, I would also encourage the economic development manager to look at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also agree with your suggesting the train station as our #1 priority. My second priority was 3rd Avenue revitalization, but we can't decide on what we want to do up there. So, and we kind of push pause on that for a while till we make that decision. So my next idea was Harbor Quay needs some refurbishment. Some rough ideas I had last night was, making a covered patio next to the donut shop, maybe extending the roof line over the middle of Spirit Square, which would encourage an expansion of the farmers market. It may be more events down there. It would provide shade in the summer and also shade, some covering in the winter when it's raining. We could extend the roof line closer and that section closest to the water, which would cover that patio area, maybe even possibly the playground, put some picnic tables and we're closer to the water. A lot of people do eat lunch down there and also eat dinner. And maybe look at ways to make that area a more walkable space. I don't know how to do it, but there must be some ways to do it, maybe to divert the traffic so it's not always circling around. So that would encourage families and little ones walking down there as well. So we had scaled down the clock tower project because of funding. So this might be an opportunity to scale that project back up a little bit and get that project completed. So I'm not an architect or an engineer. I don't even know if these ideas are even possible. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. But I think Tyann Harbor Key with this train station would be workable. They're two separate entities, but somehow trying to make them cohesive because it is all in the same area. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Haggard. And I think that that and the trail system are both great ideas as well. The trail system, we probably are more shovel ready. Although I don't know how much, or sorry, the trail, I don't know how much work has been done on that actual connection. I think that the train station would have more, would support better the job creation side of things, long-term jobs, because we know that we are, hoping to see a business operating out of there rather than the trails. And then I'd love to see all of those updates to Harbor Key. And I think, there'd be a lot of support for that as well. I think we might not be quite shovel ready with that type of that initiative yet, but I'm open to whatever council wants to do on this. Councillor Paulson, do you have any comments?
The train station makes sense to me, although we got to be careful that we don't over retro it, depending on the hopefully proponent that we may find as an occupant there. But the train station itself definitely needs some lipstick and makeover. The other one in Councillor Haggard that really intrigued me, and it seems to be dragging on, and I just not sure how this would play into this grant, is the clock tower. And we've been talking about this now for 4 or 5 years, and we haven't been able to move forward on it, whether it be lack of funds or maybe not quite the clear vision on it. But actually, the clock tower holds some interest for me on this one. If we could get that project just done and check it off and put it in the rearview mirror, because it's been so long. But the train station makes sense to me. I also like the clock tower, and I'd so like to get that project done and just check it off. I haven't been to the top of that for a while, but the last time I was up there, there was some really nasty graffiti at the top, which I don't think is great for any visitors to our community to see. And anyway, that's my thoughts. The trail would provide some short-term employment, might be some student work or something there, but certainly not the long-term that you're looking for, Madam Mayor.
That's great, thank you. Pat, do you have any thoughts on the clock tower being a project that is already underway? And I don't know how much employment there would be, just because I believe like the artwork is already done and we will just be really contracting a firm to do the actual job now, I would think. Maybe if you have an update on that, or.
Things come to mind, Madam Mayor. The first is that we are bringing a report to council at your next meeting, which will detail where we're at with the, well, we're calling it the story tower, the repurposing of the clock tower. And the thought that occurs to me around that is that we're looking for a much smaller sum of money than I think might be for with respect to the train station. So I'd hate to leave, even though, I mean, we've had a couple of shots across our bow about the size we are making. I wouldn't want to leave money on the table. And I think there is a will both in at council and in the community to finish the story project off. And to your point about employment, I think the train station stands to provide more direct employment than what the story tower does. I mean, we're very much hoping that it will turn into a major attraction, but that will be indirect jobs.
Thank you very much for that. I think that I would suggest we we wait on the clock tower or the story tower for our report on our next agenda. And based on the comments I've heard, I would suggest we direct staff to make an application for the train station. Would somebody like to make that motion or another? Councillor Solda.
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion that we write the grant in aid of the train station.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Corbeil. Perfect. Any further comments? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay. Thank you very much, Pat, for that report. Let me just get back up to the top of my agenda here. Okay, so moving on to item number 4 from the Manager of Community Safety. Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Haggard.
I was just going to say there was an option that we could put in 2 grant proposals. So is there an option that we could talk about one of the other suggestions that the councillors had?
I think that we absolutely can. And I would be curious to ask Pat his thought on putting in 2 applications. My feeling is that I think that when we put in 2 applications, we run the risk of getting the one that we don't care as much about, or the one that is for a lesser amount. But Pat, maybe you could speak to that if you've got any insight from staff there, and also about the amount of work that each of the applications is, just for some context.
Sure. First off, with respect to whether it's 1 or 2, we see a bit of a toss-up with this. You'll see in the report where I've listed pros and cons of doing 1 application versus 2. The pro for doing 2 is that if we were to run into a situation in, for example, in applying for the clock tower, if it became apparent that there was something that was going to make it challenging for a grant application to succeed, then we'd want to have a second one in the works. However, we've looked pretty closely at the clock tower of others, and I don't see an issue there. I think the pro with respect to just going with 1 project is that you're making it clear this is our priority. This is what we'd like to see funded. And so that's with respect to 1 or 2. And then with respect to resources, whether we do 1 or 2, I really think we're at the point where we're going to be acting assistants to write the grant application. Certainly several of the city staff would be vetting the application, making sure all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. But I think the reality is that we are going to have to look to outside resources to do either 1 or both of the applications.
Thank you for that. Would council like to direct putting a second application in, or would council like to focus on 1?
1.
Okay, I'm hearing 1 from Councillor Solda. Anyone else have thoughts? Councillor Haggard.
I would really like us to put in something to refurbish, do something down at Harbor Key, not only because of the tourist attraction that it offers, but also because this past summer, talking to a lot of the businesses down there, because locals weren't going anywhere, locals really found that. And I think Harbor Key is a real gathering place. Well, I'm very supportive of the railway station refurbishment. I think that we also need to take care of our assets that we have and update them and make it what it could be. Thank you.
Other thoughts from council? I think my only concern with putting forward an application for the Harbor Key is that we really don't have any work done on it yet. So like we don't have a design scheme. We haven't done any public engagement. You know, there's been talk for years about, you know, having less parking down there or shifting the parking so that there could be more areas that are pedestrian only. But that's quite a controversial conversation depending who you're talking to. So I don't know if we're really ready yet. Pat, do you have a comment?
I do, Madam Mayor. We still have the ST small capital projects grant to implement down at Harbor Key. It certainly won't be to the scale that Councillor Haggard laid out earlier. And I think we'd all love to see that. Part of our thinking with that small cap project was to show the community what could happen with a few improvements at Harbor Key, and then get support for moving forward on a bigger application.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Haggard, any thoughts on that?
I'll go along with wherever council decides. Thank you.
I definitely, you know, I definitely agree with the thoughts around improvements being needed at the Harbor Key. I think that I would like to see a larger scale improvement made there as well. I think my feeling is just that we're not quite ready for it yet, and we would likely be putting forward a grant application that wouldn't necessarily be very strong because we haven't done that work yet in terms of design. Okay, so seeing nothing else from council, we will move on to the next item. And that's number 4 from the Manager of Community Safety, 3118 3rd Avenue, the Harborview Apartments, reconsideration. Welcome, Gayleen.
Hi there. Can you hear me today?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, may I interrupt just for a moment? Before we get underway, I just have one of the representatives of Folded Hill Farms on the phone, and we're just trying to get them connected to the Zoom meeting. So perhaps council may wish to just pause on this item and move on in the agenda while I get the individuals set up.
Yep, is council okay with that? Great. So we will thank you for that. We will move on to item number 5, Acting Director of Engineering, the Bird Street Pump Station upgrade.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I apologize for the logo that was showing on my face there. I don't know how come that was pinned, but in any case, I'll try and remove that. So the report in front of you this afternoon is with respect to awarding a tender to construct a new pump station on Bird Street, which is to provide increased flow capacity to the Aerosmith Heights neighborhood. This project was included in our 2019 financial capital plan. Designs were undertaken in 2019 and the project was scheduled for construction this year. We tendered that work out in August and had a very gratifying response. We had more responses than what I think I have seen on any recent tender that we've put out. And the low bidder was a local contractor, Bowerman Excavating Limited, at $420,180. The budget for the project from our water revenue reserve is $500,000. There was a contribution from the developer of the residential neighborhood, the new subdivision of $62,500. And as well, we anticipate that we can sell the existing small pump station to the ACRD, and they've agreed for a salvage value of $5,000 for that. So that means our total budget of $567,500 will cover the estimated expenditure for this project, the tender price plus the work for engineering so far or completely within the scope of the project, as well as some miscellaneous costs. And a contingency will bring the estimated cost to in at about $517,840. So comfortably within our total budget. So alternatives for council are to award this tender as we're recommending, or to provide other direction with respect to canceling or postponing the project. This pump station is to provide, as I said, required water system upgrade for the Aerosmith Heights neighborhood. This new pump station will meet the demands of the 120 new lots that have been created in the Upland subdivision, as well as provide additional capacity for about 90 additional lots. And the pump station is upgradable to have an additional pump installed in the future for development beyond that level. The low bidder, Bowerman Excavating, has indicated a work schedule of 200 days to complete the project. Council's approval is required under the city's purchasing policy for us to move forward and award this contract. So I'd be pleased to answer any questions from council, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much for that information. Are there questions from council? Councillor Paulson.
Well, I'd like to read the motion because I'm so excited that we actually have a project that is under budget. And I'd like to make the motion before those figures change.
Under budget and a local contractor. It's a double win.
No,
thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to move that council award the contract for the Bird Street Pump Station upgrade to Bowerman Excavating Limited for the tendered price of $420,180.15 plus the GST.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Paulson, seconded by Councillor Corbeil. Are there any further questions or comments from council? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
City Clerk, are we ready for item number 4, or should we continue on?
Madam Mayor, if you could please continue on. We're getting close though.
Sure. Okay, so we will move on to item G, bylaws, and the first one from the Manager of Planning, proposed official community plan, bylaw and zoning bylaw amendments, citywide cannabis cultivation and processing. Welcome back to discuss this again, Caitlin.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. So before you for consideration is final adoption of bylaws amending the city's official community plan and zoning bylaw that would permit cannabis production facilities, cultivation and processing uses within city limits. So staff have developed bylaws that both incorporate public input and consider best practices demonstrated in other communities. And the proposed approach will permit indoor cannabis production facilities in certain industrial and commercial zones. Specifically, the following zones would be affected as follows. So the light industry M1, medium industry M2, heavy industry M3 zones would permit standard, micro, and nursery facilities. And then service C3 and highway commercial C4 zones would only permit micro and nursery facilities, which are smaller in scale. Adopting the bylaws will also introduce parking requirements for cannabis production facilities and general regulations that will apply to all cannabis production facilities. These general regulations proposed would require approval from Health Canada, require a business license, have a 300-meter buffer zone from the nearest property line for sites containing a school, licensed daycares, or other cannabis production facilities. It would limit the combination of uses on a single site to just cannabis cultivation, processing, and cannabis retail if zoned favorably. Building would be required to contain odor, noise, light, and glare within the facility as to avoid adverse effects that impair the use, safety, or livability of adjacent properties. There'd be the requirement to obtain a development permit from the city, and then the limitation of hours of operation to occur between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And then finally, the proposed bylaws will introduce specific form and character development criteria for all cannabis production facilities. These guidelines will help address things such as building design, providing other buffers and setbacks, venting and odor, lighting, and screening. So council is being asked to give final reading to the proposed bylaw amendments, and adopting the bylaw amendments will permit cannabis productions within facilities within city limits in this controlled manner as proposed. Industry proponents have been looking to the Alberni Valley for a place to start up new ventures, and the proposed bylaw amendments would help identify where and how these certain types of indoor facilities would be allowed. And as a result, the city might see a more diversified economy, new employment opportunities, and other economic benefits. However, the bylaws may increase the competition for already scarce industrial land, and it could result in undesired environmental consequences. In considering final reading of the bylaws, council should consider whether the proposed bylaw amendments seem complete and how the proposed amendments will impact the community. Council should proceed with final reading only if they are satisfied with the proposed bylaw amendments as currently written. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments from council? Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a thank you to the manager of planning for covering the basis for the people at home who are worried about odor and the smells and the hours of operation. I know that to get past Health Canada before they get to the city, that's going to be a big help to keep everything in control and check. So I think our manager of planning did a good job on the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Corbeil, would you like to read the motions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the official community plan amendment number T5, cannabis cultivation development permit area regulations, bylaw number 5012 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer, and numbered 5012.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Paulson. Any final comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And if you'd like to continue with the next one.
Further, I move that zoning bylaw text amendment number T25, cannabis cultivation bylaw number 5013, be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer, and numbered 5013.
Seconded by Councillor Paulson. Any final comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And I would just like to say thank you, certainly Caitlin, to you for all the work that you have done on this over many, many months, including a lot of public engagement through the survey, and to the work of Vancouver Island University for their help on this as well, because I know that they were a big part of starting the process. So please pass along our thanks. I'm personally really happy with how this process has gone, and I think we've gotten to a place that as a council, we feel comfortable moving forward with this. We're all a lot more informed than we were at the beginning. And I think the public has had a lot of opportunity to engage with us in different ways. So it's been nice to see that as well. So thanks very much for the process. Okay, so we will move back to item 4 from the Manager of Community Safety. And I believe we have on the line now as well, Martin and Heather from Folded Hills Farms, who are the property owners. Thank you, Gayleen. Go ahead now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a reconsideration report before you today in regards to the Harborview Apartments at 3118 3rd Avenue. This report is for council to confirm the remedial action requirements originally passed on September 14th and to extend the time for the owner to carry out the remedial action requirements. Folded Hills Farms, the property owner of 3118 3rd Avenue, have made a request for reconsideration. Council is required to provide the property owner an opportunity to make representations to council. Once a consideration is received and hearing the owner, council has 3 options to confirm, amend, or cancel the remedial action requirement. Option 1, staff is recommending that council confirm the remedial action requirement and extend the period of time the property owner has to address the remediation requirements. Option 2, subject to hearing the property owner, council may wish to amend the remedial action requirement. Option 3, subject to hearing the property owner, council may wish to cancel the remedial action requirement. Given the ongoing infractions, calls for service, and impacts to public health and safety, staff are recommending that council confirm its remedial action requirement and a 30-day extension be granted to gain compliance. Council will now have the opportunity to hear from the property owner. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. And is the property owner available to speak next? Martin, are you there? I do see Martin and Heather both on. It does look like they're muted. I'm not sure if they have to unmute themselves or if we're able to manually unmute them.
We are able to unmute Madam Mayor. We'll see if we can. Or okay. Heather is unmuted. We've asked Martin to unmute. Martin, if you can hear us, it's *6 to unmute.
And okay. I don't know what effect that has had.
Okay.
We can hear you now, Martin.
Okay, you should also have had in the waiting room Heather, who's been there for a while, and John Edmondson, who was in there, and then for some reason he keeps on getting terminated. So I just gave him the instructions that Twyla gave me so he could phone in directly. Because there should be 3 of us. Heather Duplessis, who's the manager, John Edmondson of the Bread of Life, and myself. Do you have the other 2 in the meeting now, please?
We have Heather.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're about to get John Edmondson, who's a necessary participant, as he's the Bread of Life, and he's the individual who has been negotiating the acquisition of the building. Hopefully he will have logged in by now. In any event, there's very little that I can say, except for the fact that, practically speaking, it has been impossible to do the work that needs to be done, and everybody recognizes needs to be done, because every time we do anything, within a matter of 2 or 3 days, it all gets wrecked. We know the individual, Don McClary, who is doing this. He's not legally in the building. He discharges the fire extinguishers, smashes the windows, smashes all the cameras, and generally does extensive damage. For example, in suite number 1, he's gone in and smashed the bathroom, toilet, cut the water lines so as to flood the floor, and do things of that nature. The RCMP have advised that he's a dangerous individual and that they will only send down 4 officers and 2 squad cars if they know he's in the building. But they've assured us that if we can put in high-quality armored cameras that can be monitored in real time from computers and cell phones that are armored and put through metal cable on the hard wiring so that they can't be disconnected, that when they get video, they will act. We have ordered those cameras, and there's been a delay of about 3 weeks in receiving them, allegedly due to COVID restrictions. And now we have written confirmation that they have been shipped. And we have let a contract with Taylor Property Management, who manages the Butte Street premises where we're tenants, and also is involved in the management of Manor House to install the cameras. And no matter what happens now, we're going to put those cameras in. At that stage, we will do the work that is required to be done to put the building back in the condition that the city expects it to be in, and everybody else does too. Now, if Heather's available, maybe she can say what her problems are, and maybe you could advise whether John Edmondson is now in the meeting.
City Clerk, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So just regarding Mr. Edmondson, who represents the Bread of Life, this opportunity is for Folded Hill Farms to address council and requesting a reconsideration of council's order back on September 14th. What Folded Hill Farm chooses to do with Bread of Life outside of this particular issue is currently between Folded Hill Farms and the Bread of Life, and not being contemplated at this time by City Council.
Thank you.
Do we have John Edmondson available yet?
No, he's not on. Is Heather available?
Heather is present.
Well, Heather can tell you the problem she has with the building and the steps she's taken, and what she will do with the building when we have the cameras in. Heather? Hello? Hello?
Heather
Hello?
is unmuted now. Heather, are you available?
Heather is showing as present and unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
yeah, we can hear you, Heather.
Okay, this is Heather. I'm the manager of Harborview. It's my husband and I that have managed it. We do have experience with buildings, troubled buildings. We managed the Beaufort also, and we cleaned it up, and it took us quite a while to clean it up. And it was about the same as the Harborview when we started cleaning it up. The cameras are huge for doing anything in the building. Until we get cameras there, there's nothing we can do. We get 2-3 calls a night where people are in there, and as soon as we leave, they go back in and they damage and set off the alarms and everything. There's just no way that we can keep them out. We've tried everything. The door's solid. It's so solid, but they figure out ways to push stuff into the locking mechanism in the door to keep that door open. There are tenants in there that are scared of the people coming in, and they're intimidated by some of the people that are coming in and doing the damage and the drugs and whatnot. It is terrible there. And like I say, we've been there for 4 or 5 months, I think now, and we have not been able to get ahead at all. We go backwards. Like it's crazy. And the pictures, well, you see on the pictures, it's just nonstop. And I mean, we get the people that we're dealing with they're tough people. Like, they're not housable people. And it's not the tenants in the building, it's the people that are coming in because they don't have anywhere else to go. And it's just with the Beaufort, that's how we cleaned it up with the cameras, because we have them, and we still have them on in our house. We have screens up in our house. We have them on our phones. We have them on our iPads, and we watch it all the time. And we have to deal with it right away. I mean, as soon as we see something day or night, we have to be down there. And we're still, like I say, it's babysitting the building is what it is. But with the Harborview, it's a tough one.
Thank you for that. I will turn it over to council for questions or comments. Councillor Solda.
Sorry. Have you tried as like having I know it's going to cost money, a security team in there, like just 24/7, and also, you know, like, I don't understand why you can't put a police, you know, what is it, a police bond? What is it called when you don't want somebody around? They can only be around the radius of the any place.
Yes, we have tried for security. There's not many people that are going to go there. If you've been down there to see the place, you're not gonna. It's hard to get workers to even go there, like to get windows replaced. We go there with them. We take out the window frames to try to get it done. It's impossible to get. Like the one fellow that is doing a lot of the damage, the police told us they will not go down there unless there are 4 available officers. So we're down there after it happens, waiting for this, and sometimes there's not 4 available officers ready. And I mean, to charge the guy, unless you have a video of him doing something, they won't even take some of the people's, you know, word of it down there. They said it won't go through court. We can't get restraining orders to stay away from the building, nothing.
Okay, I just, you know, like the Bank of Montreal up the road just has a security, and I just don't understand why you can't. It's just hard to comprehend that, maybe.
Well, I can answer that. The Bank of Montreal has security officers during daylight hours when the bank is open. There is no threat to the security officer whatsoever. Simply stands outside, monitors the people as they go in. We're dealing with a situation where nothing happens until well after dark. And the contacts that we've had with security personnel are that they just don't want to go in the building at night. It's dangerous. It's not a matter of spending the money to have somebody in there from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. If that were the solution, we would put somebody in there. The solution is clearly that we put in, and I repeat this, special hardwired, armored, real-time cameras that can be monitored, all 8 of them, on your computer in real time, and nobody can destroy them, which you can do with all the other cameras we put in, which are standard cameras, by coming up behind them and simply whacking them with a baseball bat or whatever they whack them with. These cameras, you can't do that to. You can beat them and it won't happen. And the police have made it absolutely clear. I had in-depth meetings with the RCMP approximately a month ago on the issue, and they said, get these type of cameras, high resolution, and with that, we will send officers down, and we will deal with the situation as long as you have video of Don McCrory. And we know the individual is doing it. The police have arrested him on a number of occasions in the past with regard to this building and other damage he's done. And he gets released in due course and goes right back to where he started. Mm-hmm. And he's never been a tenant in the building, but he has been able to stay in one unit, the unit that has presently got boards up on its windows, which is unit number 1, where the tenant who had a tenancy agreement, a younger lady, he moved in there and operated whatever other activities he carries on the building from that unit. And the unit is completely wrecked by Don McCrory, and that's the only unit in the building that will have to be completely redone. Drywall's out, toilets are out, sinks are out, stove is smashed, refrigerator is damaged beyond repair, and we've removed that. We've cleared the whole place out, and the moment that we're able to do that suite, we'll do it. And that's cameras. with cameras, it's probable that we could get security to go in as well. But no security personnel want to be in that building at night due to this individual.
But unfortunately, it's not just your operation, your apartments that's being affected. It's all the people that are around it, the businesses and everything that are around it. And, you know, I wish it was acted on a lot earlier, because it's been a long time coming, and it's a shame that we have to go to this extent to have something happen there. And I just feel sorry for all the people that are in the apartments that are affected by this one individual or however it is, but it's also the people around and the businesses. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We understand that completely, but we have poured money in to repair all the damage done, and the damage gets repeated within a matter of days. I mean, lights are all smashed out, exit signs are smashed out. We've upgraded the doors so that under any normal conditions, nobody could be going in and out of the building, because the doors are heavily reinforced, steel frames. We've taken the doors apart and welded in cross braces so that they can't be bent and damaged. And Heather and Wayne are there constantly, and they're authorized to spend any money that they need to spend.
Thank you. I have Councillor Haggard and then Councillor Corbeil next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May I ask the Manager of Community Safety a question?
Yes.
Thank you. Staff is recommending that we give this individual an additional 30 days to do the repairs that's needed. What are the implications if we deny that recommendation and stick with the 30 days that was first set by council? Can you just kind of clarify for me, please?
Then we would have to, council will have to reconsider or consider the next steps with this deadline and how we will proceed. We have a couple of options, but you'll have to go through those options and decide what to do.
Well, there was a comment made, it's Martin Chambers speaking, earlier, that the Bread of Life and John Edmondson have nothing to do with this transaction. Well, that's very strange, considering the fact that John Edmondson has met with members of city staff and has advised them categorically that he expects to have an agreement for Bread of Life to take over the building within a week. Obviously, that's relevant to what's going on now. It isn't going to stop us putting the cameras in, because he has to have the cameras put in regardless. So they're going in. And with those cameras in, the police will take action. I mean, the tenants in the building are being extorted by John McCrary, and they're petrified of him. And the police have interviewed the tenants, and the tenants have said that they will tell the police what's happening, but they're not going to testify because they're frightened of their physical and mental well-being as a result of this individual.
Thank you. Councillor Corbeil, I have you next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I just wanted to say I'm glad that both Heather and Martin recognize the issues that council dealt with, and I can understand how difficult this is. Question I have for you: would it not help to have an on-site manager actually living at the facility and being able to monitor what goes on?
And the answer to that is yes, it would. And we have one suite that is totally wrecked. I mean, the drywall's out, everything is smashed inside. We've had to lift the flooring and take it out as well, because having smashed the place, Mr. McCrory went in a few days later and cut a water line that hadn't been tapped off, and flooded the place. Fortunately, Wayne and Heather happened to go down there and find there was water all over the place. And that suite is going to be completely rebuilt. It's the only one in the building that needs to be mechanically and electrically and plumbing-wise. The building is in good shape. It was completely rebuilt in 2009, so it's structurally sound. You don't have the kind of problems you have in other buildings such as the Beaufort and Port Pub, etc. It was built according to code, and rebuilt according to code, and in that year. So the relatively, outside of suite number one, the relatively minor work that has to be done doesn't consist of major structural problems with the plumbing or the sewage or electrical, which you have in most buildings that are old and used for this type of tenancy. So the short answer to your question is yes, there will be an on-site manager living in suite number one, which is a suite that is immediately adjoining the front door and which will have the computer access to all of the cameras throughout the building. So yes, there will be an on-site manager. That canon will be achieved in that suite when it is rebuilt. And it can easily be rebuilt within the 1 month extension that is being recommended.
So I think it's important to note that the remedial order that's on the building is a lot more than just one suite being rebuilt. And while one suite may have the bulk of the work to be done, the pictures that we saw of the interior of the building when this order was made were incredibly alarming, and it goes far beyond just one suite.
Well, I'm not intimating in any way that it's restricted to one suite. I'm saying that the rest of the interior of the building is something that is
easier renovations.
Easy renovation,
sure.
As long as it doesn't get wrecked the next day.
Sure. So I have to say that I feel a bit reluctant to grant an extension. And the reason for that is that in the 30 days since we made this order, the garbage outside hasn't even been cleaned up. We made 2 orders that day, and driving by the other building regularly, I can see significant work going on, garbage being cleaned up, huge amount of progress being made, and I've been very disappointed every day that I've driven by the Harborview Apartments to see nothing done. So I'm curious to hear, Martin, from you on, I can understand and appreciate the challenges that you have on that building. I very much appreciate that this is not an easy building to own or an easy building to manage. But I'm disappointed to see no progress made in the 30 days.
Well, I can ask a question of Heather, because when I go there, which I've had to do approximately every 10 days, I have seen improvements in garbage, except for the one suite where we have somebody who's squatted there, and we've been unable to evict. You can't evict anybody for any reason until you couldn't until the 15th September. But other than that, Heather, I've seen the garbage situation improve. We've put in 40 cubic meter bins, and we've moved garbage. Heather, what do you have to say about the garbage situation?
There's been a lot of garbage that's been maybe you don't see it from the outside, but we end up with extra fridges and stoves and you name it inside the building, blocking the halls at all times. We're always in there taking out garbage. Martin did have a 40-yard bin. We brought in a 40-yard bin to get rid of all the garbage. And then we had someone bring a camper in front of that bin that we've been trying to get it out of there. One of the tenants, I guess, brought it in. He was told he wasn't allowed it there. We tried to get it hauled away. No companies would haul it away. We've tried. We finally just got rid of it. But we've had a 40-yard bin in the yard for the last 3 weeks at least, getting garbage out, always getting garbage out of there.
I mean,
if I can interject, everybody is dumping garbage there. It's not our garbage.
Sure. I mean, I go by the building. I go in the back alley. I drive by regularly looking for progress because I'm hoping to see some progress so that we can, be reasonable and give an extension to try to allow you to work with this. And again, work with a very difficult situation that you have. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility, to deal with this building. So we want to be reasonable. But, last I drove by, for the last couple of weeks in a row, there's a tent set up in the backyard. There's garbage all over.
But the city issued the tents. What can we do about the tents?
The city did not issue any tents.
Well, somebody issued a whole series of tents. I've met with the guy that occupied the tent, requested him to move it, and he said, get a court order.
So my point is that I've been disappointed to see so much progress going on at the other property and seemingly no progress happening at the Harborview. And I'm hopeful that there are things happening inside that we don't see, but I haven't seen evidence of that on the outside. And again, I recognize this is a difficult situation, but I would like to hear something compelling that makes me think that if we give a 30-day extension to this, work is going to be done.
Well, all I can tell you is that what more can we do than put in a bin and everybody dumps mattresses there, they dump sofas there, and all manner of things of that nature, and we bin it and haul it away. Councilor. The only thing that can be done in that context is to put the building, which we will, in a condition where we have somebody occupying it and taking steps. The other thing that can be done and have been discussed with John Edmondson, who for some reason appears still not to be able to get in there. He said he was in the waiting room and he got blocked out of it twice. So I don't know what's happening. But we've discussed with the Bread of Life putting a chain link fence along the alley from the corner of our building to include the back of the Bread of Life, which is also having a lot of stuff dumped there, which they move. And we would put a chain link fence in and a gate in the back and keep it locked. The garbage is not being dumped by people coming in from the front. It's dumped by people going down the alley and throwing it over the cement wall. And we can run a chain link fence and intend to do so. Whether or not there is a consummated deal with the Bread of Life, and that will prevent garbage, which is mainly sofas and beds and things of that nature, being tossed out from the alley because they won't be able to do so. But we have to do that in conjunction with the Bread of Life, because otherwise people would simply go into the Bread of Life, the back of it, and throw the same garbage onto our side or onto their side. But that's been discussed, and we have the chain link fence and gates to do it. They're not on site, but they're in the Butte Street compound. And we're going to do that. But each of these things is a step that requires discussions and negotiations with the Bread of Life, so we can isolate the alley from all three buildings. The Bread of Life has two buildings there, as you know.
Thank
And
you.
anytime anybody wanted to go inside, I would take them for a tour every day so you can see exactly what we're getting rid of every day.
Councillor Haggard, and then Councillor Solda, and then Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This just didn't happen overnight. This has been happening for years. And if you're saying it's one individual and you need these cameras, it should have been done a long time ago. I said this apartment building has been a blight on our downtown core for some time. It affects the businesses in that downtown core. It affects people walking down the streets. This building is on prime real estate in our community, and it should be treated as such. So I think you're just making a lot of excuses. And the day after we did this order 30 days ago, I said, I bet you anything the owner would come back and ask for an extension. I didn't think at that time the work was going to be done, and I was correct. Thank you.
Councillor Solda.
That's not as a result of us.
Thank you. I have
not
Councillor
wanting to
Solda
do it.
as the next speaker, and we will let you speak again, Martin.
Okay, go ahead.
To the owner, when this particular building was burnt down and reconstructed, it was rebuilt, although you weren't the owner, there was the same issues, the same problems, the same thing, the same council, well, different council, and I was on council at the time, always had issues regarding this particular piece of property. It was cleaned up, and again, it happened again, and so forth and so forth. So when you talk about the dumping and stuff like that, we have there's lots of areas in our community that have become dumped areas, not just your area, sir. And I'm afraid about giving you an extension, because in the winter months are coming, and then we've had to put everything on hold because we understand it's winter, the snow and the rain and that, and it's really hard to do any upgrading or anything on buildings. And we've had that with other buildings. So unfortunately, I am not convinced about giving you an extension, and the other owners in the past never agreed to the extension either. I did once and I ate dirt. So I'm not there yet. So you haven't convinced me. I'm sorry.
Well, you give the extension and we'll do the work. And we'll have nothing to say if the work is not done and the cameras are not in and the number one suite is not rebuilt with somebody in residence. And the work that you require to be done to this building is not work that will be impeded by weather.
Thank you for that. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was on council back in March 2018 when Mr. Chambers did an amazing rally and got the place back up to code 2 years ago. But I'm sitting here listening, and I'm just deciding. So if we give Mr. Chambers a 30-year or 30-day extension, he's going to have the place up to snuff, and there'll be no need to go any further than that. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing. And you'll have clear rights to proceed, and there's very little we'll be able to say in opposition or pleading further at the end of 30 days.
Thank you. Councillor Paulson.
Just sitting back listening, and I actually don't have a problem with the 30-day extension. There is a list of items that need to be done for compliance. I'd be interested to know how many of those on that list have been actually checked off by the proponent. Whether into an agreement with the Bread of Life or retain it yourselves. The work still has to be done. And I'm with Council Washington on this. This is the second time in 2 years that we've had to go this route with a nuisance property. If at the end of the 30 days there's non-compliance, I think we need to move on to the next steps.
Well, I can cut you short there and say we'll have no problem with that.
Okay. So
in other words, it's simple.
Yeah.
Either we achieve what we say we're going to achieve within 30 days, or the city will not have any opposition or any further requests for extensions.
thank you. Martin, when you do the work, so if we give you an extension for 30 days, are you telling us you do intend to do all the work?
Yes.
And are you able to do that work keeping your tenants there? With the exception, obviously, of the one who is a problem and is not, you know, an actual tenant.
As long as there is high-resolution cameras and the RCMP are able to move forward, we will be able to do all that work, and we'll do it.
And you'll do it with the tenants there?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not our preferred course of action, because having the building completely empty would make it easier and simpler, and then you would be able to fight each of the, and there are a very limited number of them, tenants who were dealing in the building and the cause of the kind of problems we have, and not allow them back in the building. But we're not looking for any change in the rent structure. This is not a renovation eviction situation as far as we're concerned. If the building were shut down completely, then it would make our job a lot easier, but we will do the work regardless of whether or not the tenants are there or not there. It'll simply be a cost factor, and we have the crews to do that work. The crew consists of A&B Timber, and they will put a crew in to do it. They're the entity that built Manor House, Athol Apartments, and they're the crew that is currently doing all the stream crossings and culverts and road construction on a 210-acre subdivision between Sprout Lake and McCoy Lake. And if any of the council members are interested in driving up Catherine Drive, which is on the Sprout Road, Sterling Road, whatever it is, you just go straight up Herd Road instead of angling to the left when you pass McCoy Lake. They'll see the type of construction, major construction that's been done there and the quality of it. These are people that are familiar with the building. They don't like it. They don't want to be there. But that'll be the crew that'll be used. And they're highly competent.
So it's important to me that this, you know, that having that assurance from you that you're not going to bulk evict the tenants to do this work. You know, as you said, this is work that is doable with the tenants there, recognizing, of course, your, you know, right to, as a property owner, to work with specific tenants that, you know, you need to evict for whatever reason. Of course, that's not what we're talking about, but I would very much, especially if we are considering giving an extension, this brings us 1 month closer to the cold and rainy season. And in giving that extension, I think we really need that assurance that the people living there, or the bulk of the people living there, are going to continue to be able to live there as you do the work. It was, a different story a month ago with weather, and at this point, I think we need to having that assurance is very helpful.
Well, we'll do the work with the tenants there. It'll simply be more expensive, but under the circumstances, there's no choice. And Fulda Hills Farm is not normally in the business of operating apartment buildings, but it is in the business of doing other major servicing and construction and subdivision work. And it has the financial capacity to do the work. It's simply been a problem of Heather and Wayne feeling that they were able to rectify the situation and done everything in their power to do so, as they have done in the Beaufort, which everybody recognizes. And they've been overwhelmed by the actions of one particular individual. And there are other 2 and perhaps 3 other tenancies that we will now take action against now that we're able to evict, based on the fact that they're dealing and the people coming in and out of the building are their clients. So we do intend to evict now that we're able to do so, but we haven't been able to do so since March. And now we can, and we will.
Councillor Paulson, would you like to read the first motion?
I'd like to move the council pursuant to S78(4) of the community charter hereby confirms the remedial action requirement originally passed on September 14, 2020, and extends the time for the owner to carry out the requirements until 30 days from the date that notice of this resolution, made October 13, 2020, is sent to the owner.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Corbeil. Any final comments on this? Councillor Solda.
So the motion is that we're going to give him the extension. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
That is the motion, and that was the recommendation by staff.
Thank you.
Any other comments? So I will just add that, as I expressed earlier, I am, I think, reluctantly going to support this motion. Optimistically, looking to put faith in Martin that he will carry out the work as he has stated to us. But I do want to note that if the work is not done, then I'm just one vote on this council, but I am very comfortable taking the next steps and having, having the city do the work and bill the property owner. So I think we're all optimistic it won't get to that. Our preference is certainly for the building owner to do the work. But I just want it to be clear that I am comfortable going to the next step if we need to at the end of this 30 days. So seeing no more comments on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? 2 opposed, carried. Thank you very much. And Councillor Paulson, there's another motion.
And I'd like to move the council pursuant to S78(5) of the community charter hereby direct staff to provide notice that council has confirmed the remedial action requirement and extended the time for compliance to the owner and each holder of a registered charge in relation to the property whose name is included on the assessment roll.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Corbeil. Any final comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed, carried. Thank you very much, Council. Thank you, Martin and Heather, for coming on today. And again, hopefully 30 days from now, we won't be looking at the next steps.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move on in our agenda. We are on item G2 from the Manager of Planning, proposed bylaw zoning map amendment 5381 Falls Street.
Then I will, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you for consideration today is third and final reading of zoning bylaw amendment for 5381 Fall Street. So the city received an application to rezone 5381 Fall Street from R1 single family residential to R2 1 and 2 family residential, and no amendments to the official community plan are required. The purpose of the amendments would be to facilitate the conversion of a single family dwelling into a duplex, as the size of the proposed second dwelling unit is a little bit too large to be classified as a secondary suite. So therefore the rezoning is required. City Council gave first and second reading to the proposed zoning bylaw amendments at the September 14th regular council meeting, and also waived the public hearing requirement and gave direction to provide public notice in accordance with section 467 of the Local Government Act. To date, no public correspondence has been received by the Planning Department. All conditions have been met by the applicant, and the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure has signed off on the bylaw amendments. In considering third and final reading of the bylaw amendments, City Council should consider whether the proposed development is appropriate for the site and how this change might impact the immediate neighborhood. Allowing a two-family use of the subject property aligns with the official community plan, as it encourages a variety of housing options for residents within the community. Both the Planning Department and the Advisory Planning Commission support the proposed zoning bylaw map amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. Are there questions from council? Seeing none, Councillor Solda, would you like to read the motions?
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the zoning map amendment number 41-5381 Falls Street, Faithful Construction bylaw number 5014 be read a third time.
Seconded by Councillor Washington. Seeing no comments, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I move that the zoning map amendment number 41-5381 Falls Street, Faithful Construction bylaw number 5014 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer, and numbered 5014.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any final questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thanks very much, Caitlin. Okay, moving on to correspondence for action. There is none. Proclamations. Item 1, an email dated October 1st, 2020 from the Ministry of Children and Family Development requesting that Council proclaim the month of October 2020 as Foster Family Month in Port Alberni. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councillor Solda.
Madam Mayor, I move that the email dated October 1st, 2020 from the Ministry of Children and Family Development requesting that Council proclaim the month of October 2020 as Foster Family Month in Port Alberni be received and the month proclaimed as requested.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Okay, any comments on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And correspondence for information. City Clerk, would you like to read those out?
Yes, Madam Mayor, you have correspondence from the University of Victoria, which speaks to the grant to the city in the amount of $187. You also have a letter of appreciation from elected Chief Councillor Robert J. Dennis Sr., and that's with regards to your work with the Huu-ay-aht First Nations regarding the upgrades to Bamfield Road. And our last item is the minutes from the Museum and Heritage Commission.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Council, any comments on any of the correspondence? Councillor Washington and then Councillor Solda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The payment in lieu of taxes, is that the old Teleglobe site from the University of Victoria?
It is. We were saying the other day, we wish they would just send us nothing, because that $187 just it makes you feel worse than nothing. And that said, I will let council know that myself and the CAO have been working a little bit with the group that operates out of there trying to, if that's going to be the payment that we get, trying to work on a long-term strategy to get more activity and benefit to our community out of that site, because we do think that a lot more could be done. It could be used as more of a research facility, and we could see some local value if we are not seeing any local taxes. So, nothing specific to report on that yet, but we've been having conversations and hope that there will be more that can be done out of there in the future. Councillor Solda.
That's so funny because every mayor has said the same thing that I have served under, has said the same thing. It's ridiculous. Anyways, Madam Mayor, my question is regarding the Huu-ay-aht First Nations and the Banfield Road. Have we heard when they're going to start, or are they going to start? Are they waiting for this election? What's happening?
No, they are not waiting for the election. The work is funded, and Chief Dennis told me when I was on the phone with him the other day that they are starting ASAP, and when Robert Dennis says ASAP, he means it. So I have a lot of confidence that it will be starting very soon. They are just kind of working through the final steps of their planning. And yeah, I mean, just again, certainly, appreciate the provincial government for contributing funding to this, but really want to appreciate the work of Huu-ay-aht over the years in advocating for this. And Chief Dennis is an incredible advocate for his community and certainly speaks very passionately about this issue. And I have full confidence that this work is being done because of his years of advocacy and the entire Huu-ay-aht Council and community. So really happy to see the work being done, and hopefully it will get underway very soon.
Super, thank you. A long time coming. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you. Any other items council would like to speak to? Seeing none, I will move receipt of our correspondence for information. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Washington. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And moving on to report from in camera. City Clerk, would you like to just speak to this briefly so that the public is aware?
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just a point of clarification, the 5 lots should reflect Anderson Avenue, not Anderson Road. And the history behind this is just that the city has made available for sale 5 lots on Anderson. We thought doing a pre-notice to the community would give the general public information that these were available. The lots will be made available for sale through Gary Gray at Remax, and correspondence had been distributed to the community neighborhood, just advising that the city would be going forward with the sale of these parcels at some point in the future. So we're quickly approaching that. We just have a little bit of survey work that we're wrapping up, and then they'll be ready to go.
Thank you. And I think people will be aware that we recently listed 3 other lots that we've listed as well. And this is all sort of a follow-up to one of the items in our strategic plan, which is to really look at the highest and best use of land that we own, and where it makes sense to dispose of some land that's not strategic. So our staff have put in a lot of work to really reviewing the properties that we do own as a city, and looking at what the highest and best use of those lands is, whether it's to keep them long-term or to look at disposing them or other things. So appreciate the work that our staff have done on that. Councillor Corbeil.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's important to note that the green space where the road right-of-way will remain, and I believe the trail that goes up through towards 14th will be relocated to go through the road allowance. And I understand there's been some concern about that.
Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to council reports. Are there any items that councillors would like to highlight? Okay. Would somebody like to move receipt of these reports? Councillor Solda.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Corbeil. Any comments? Okay, and I'll just say that I know that we've gotten a bit away from doing our written reports. I certainly have, as things have been so different over the last few months. I really enjoy reading each councillor's written report. So I will try to get mine in time for the deadline next time around, just to have, you know, that opportunity to talk about the activities that we are doing in the community and progress we're making. So on receipt, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And new business, an opportunity for council to raise issues as a result of the business of the meeting or to identify new items for subsequent meetings. I was just going to ask if staff was able to provide us with any update on secondary suites and carriage homes. And CAO, you can I'm not sure if you can provide any update on that now, or if not, I'll make just a motion for a brief update at our next meeting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The manager of planning is on this call, on this meeting, and if she's able to speak to that now, great. Otherwise, we can bring it at a future meeting.
Great, and either way is fine. So Caitlin, if you have an update, great, but if not, that's fine.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, the update at this point is that it is on our priority list of projects to work on, and it's my intent, now that we've got the cannabis bylaws kind of wrapped up, to refocus on short-term rentals, which we have drafted, and bringing those forward for further discussion to council, and then also setting up a meeting in hopefully the next week or two to meet with the CAO to talk about a bit of a strategy around accessory dwelling units, so secondary suites, laneway homes, carriage homes, and how to proceed with dealing with those in a timely fashion, as it is, I know, a top priority for you and the rest of council.
Excellent, thank you very much. Appreciate that update. Any other items for new business? Councillor Corbeil.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, just in conjunction with the carriage homes, I know Nickel Brothers is still wondering what's going on as far as moving homes to the valley, and if that's something that we're working on or not.
Thank you. I would imagine probably we'll get a similar answer on that one, as it's planning department as well. So if there's anything to add, if not, we'll just discuss that at a future date, or maybe we could get an update at the next meeting. Hi again.
Yep, similar situation. We've just been backlogged with a lot of the files, development files that we've been working on, and so we haven't quite had the time to prioritize that yet. But it is our full intent to bring back a update report with some recommendations that hopefully will satisfy you.
Thanks very much. Okay, seeing no other items, question period, an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of council. City Clerk, do we have any questions today?
No, Madam Mayor, no questions submitted.
Okay, thank you very much. Then would somebody like to move adjournment? Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Washington. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.